January of 18, Dr. Burke, the chief psychiatrist, was standing at the lodge, and he says to me, he says, "Kathy, I'm telling you right now, they are not having another town meeting unless I go to it." And he says, what they're saying, he says, you're not even close to what they're saying. So what had happened, he had found out that Leamington Hospital doctored their stats to make me look bad and them look good. And he says, you're not even close to what those stats are. So we had the meeting in April of 18, and it was kind of funny because Peter Newfield, after all the meeting with Dr. Burke and that's the only meeting I was allowed to, he says, "Oh, I'm so happy we did this. We're going to get Kathy all kinds of support." Well, you know what they gave me? 8 months of addiction counselor, which I paid for addiction counselor for years until I couldn't afford it anymore. In August of 2019, I hired Ron Dunn. He was the head of the downtown Windsor mission, because I hired him as a consultant. He told me he could consult. So he goes and has a meeting with the mayor and some other council people there, and comes back and tells me and my daughter that all the town's trying to do is choke you out. So he was on till October at the end. Then he sends me an email, stating that time I was on a freeze again, and he says, "I'm sure if I'm not on with you, they won't take the freeze off." And then he went on sending me this email saying that he's going to put somebody in for $70,000 a year to run my businesses, which I didn't even make close to that.
So they did end up freezing your accounts? When did they freeze your accounts?
They freeze my funding all the time. Every few months they're freezing me for the stupidest things.
So you didn't have the funding to make that work during those times?
No, I did, but I couldn't have more new people.
Okay.
So, and then he put down my 3 companies, Seniors, the Lodge, and Essays, that he wants $500 for each company for himself, and if I'm willing to sell shares. So I just said, well, I'll have to talk to my kids because it's their inheritance. I emailed them. And so then I didn't hear from him. But meanwhile, in October, because I was better, it's October, I had a meeting with Mary Birch and Jeannie at my daughter's store.
Mary Birch.
She's head of Essex County. She's one of the top people there. And so anyways, I had my consultant with me, and he worked for the ministry for a lot of years. And what he did find out, because in that one letter, that letter from the OPP actually said that I had 900 calls in so many years, and it was crazy, that many calls. And so he found out that when you call OPP, if you do a 911 call and 1 car shows up, that's 1 911. But if 4 cars show up, that's their stats. If 4 cars show up, that's 4 911s. That's how they got that number. And so Mary Burr says, "So they're using the numbers against you?" I said, "Yeah." And so when they were leaving, I said, "Oh, I just want to give you the heads up. I'm getting a lawyer." And their faces dropped, and they said, "Why would you get a lawyer?" I said, "For one thing, these fire alarms are illegal, what you're doing. I'm the only one that's getting the fines." My sister came on board with me in December. She worked at a nursing home in Kingsville for many years, and she came on, and the first 2 weeks she was there, she couldn't believe what was going on. She says, "Kathy, they're just setting you up for failure." By January of 18, well, in between October and that, they had meetings at the town hall. It was right on the TV, when they do this. And my maintenance guy comes in, he says, "Kathy, you got to see this." So I'm looking at it. So at this time, the mayor was the deputy mayor at that time. So you got the fire department down there talking that they should fine me. They didn't say the name, but I know who they were talking about, because they were talking about multiple fire alarms and stuff like that. So I called her out on it one time when we had a meeting in 2019. I stopped her and I said, I said, "Those fire alarms and that," I said, "when you giggled and said what we were going to do with all the money," I said, "it's not a laughing matter. My people are sick. And when the police send my ambulances away, they're leaving that sick person back, and they forget and they light up a cigarette." But I didn't have that many that set off the alarm for cigarettes. Sometimes it was a malfunction, sometimes it was spider, dust, because they were very sensitive laser eyes, so anything could set it off.